Hey everybody, Miss Maritello here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about absolute value and absolute value equations today. So just as a reminder, if I took the absolute value of a number like 5, it's just 5. You figure absolute value, sometimes people refer to it as like the distance between a number and 0 on a number line. So like between 5 and 0 is 5, but also if you were to do the absolute value of -5, that's still going to be 5, because in between -5 and 0 on a number line is 5 spaces. Sometimes people just kind of think about it as like taking the positive version of a number, that'd be fine too. But then when I start to look at equations that deal with absolute value, you figure like if I looked at an equation like x equals 5, technically like we could have had 5 because the absolute value of 5 is 5, but also the absolute value of -5 is 5. So if you were to solve an equation like this, technically there's going to be 2 answers because we could have just had the 5, but then we also could have had the -5. So if you were to solve an equation just like that, you are going to have 2 answer options. So then if I looked at something like this, you figure I could have had 7 in here, and then the absolute value of that would be 7. But I also could have -7 in there, because the absolute value of -7 is still 7. So if I want to solve an equation that looks like this, I actually have to have like two options on there. So what's in the parentheses, it could have been equal to 7, but it also technically could have been equal to -7. So kind of like the last one, I'm going to end up with 2 different answers, but now I have to almost solve like 2 little tiny equations to be able to figure out the 2 answers. So if I looked at the one that would have said that what was in here was just 7, I'm adding 3 on each side, and I would get that x was 10. And you figure if you checked it, that'd be fine, because the absolute value of 10 minus 3, you would get the absolute value of 7, which is 7, so that'd be fine. But on the other side, though, if I was to add 3 to each side, you would get x to be -4. And then if I was to take a look at that, -4 minus 3 is -7, and then the absolute value of -7 is still 7. So it's true either way. So this is going to be the type of problem that'll have 2 answers. So technically x could have been -4, or it could have been 10. Either would work. And then if we try one that's just like a little bit more difficult, same idea though. So like what's in the parentheses, it could have been 9 because absolute value of 9 is 9. But it also technically could have been -9 because the absolute value of -9 is 9. So we have to do the same thing where we're setting up 2 different equations. So for one, we're going to have the whatever's in the absolute value equal to 9, like the positive version. And then we're going to do another one that's equal to the negative version. So like anytime you solve an absolute value equation like that, you should take whatever's in the absolute value, have it equal to the positive version, and then also you're going to need to have another one where it's equal to the negative version. And then you'll go through and solve them like normal. So like for this one, I'm going to add 5 on each side of the equation. I'm going to get 2x equal to 14. Then I'll divide by 2 on each side, and I'm going to get x equals 7. If I wanted to do kind of like a quick check, even just talking it through, 2 times 7 would have given me 14, and then 14 minus 5 is 9, and absolute value of 9 would be 9. And then for this one, kind of going through that, so I'm adding 5 to each side of the equation. I'm getting 2x equals -4, so I get x equals -2. And then you figure if I went through that one, 2 times -2 is -4, and then -4 minus 5 is -9. And then the absolute value of -9 is 9. So I know, same for that one, either of those will work. So we have 7 and -2. So like you're noticing two answers on absolute value equations. Hope that was helpful. Thanks.